Hey, it's called Bring It In from TrueHoop. We are thrilled to have, once again, TrueHoop special correspondent Adena Jones is with us. David Thorpe is there. I think my sister's been here. She texted that she dialed in for the last half hour, but there's a time change, and she's actually was half an hour early. So greetings to my sister who's here. How you doing, Adena?
Doing great. I was, telling you earlier, I was like, I feel like my appearance is just going to deteriorate every week on here. So
Perfect.
just work with me.
Yeah.
Work with me. Try my best.
What's worse than a week ago, would you say?
Well, for some reason, my throat is scratchy as hell. I'm
Okay.
not bothering to do my hair. So I'm just like trying over here. Like, it's a pandemic. Give me a break.
It's
a month ago, when I felt even the slightest tickle, I mean, I was like, oh, I basically cussed. And now, like, you know what? I've had these my whole life and didn't even know about coronavirus. I'm probably just fine, and I've been quarantined.
Yeah, exactly. And
it was more nerve-wracking.
I'm a loud New Yorker, so like I tend to go hoarse anyway. So
yeah,
I got
you.
That's just Wednesday.
Yeah.
Adena, you might not be aware of how concerned David is about his hair. I don't know. Hope I'm not trying to comment, but David's very worried about his hair situation without the haircut.
I was until yesterday. Judy sent me a nice text, and I said, "What am I doing?" I mean, I'm not too worried about it. There's bigger things. My parents are old, and I'm worried about them. But I'm like, I'm not going to plan about my hair anymore. I don't care if I have it or not. I have it. It's long as hell. I'm a freak show. I'm Kramer in the morning. I'm Kramer meets Dr. Brown in the morning. There's worse things to be afflicted with than having a healthy head of hair when you're 55. So.
I'm genuinely like, I'm really begging for the moment that David just shows us, like, I want to see the.
It's a scene, man.
The wolf man.
I think Dr. Brown's a great look. Like, I think I like.
For Dr. Brown, a crazy mad scientist.
Can you have like a later phase of your career where you're like an eccentric professor and you just have like wouldn't that be great?
Listen, as Randy knows, I just want to look like Kevin Costner, okay? not really.
Randy says your hair's phenomenal.
If you want to ask a question, click the little chat button, put it in there. If you want to be on video, use the word video. Get you on there. And now, TrueHoop special correspondent Adena Jones is going to delight and amaze us.
Yes. So we're here. We're seeing, we're always checking out what our NBA players are doing on lockdown because NBA players are people too. This is what I'm starting to realize. And this week's theme, we're doing family, wife, and kids, and we're seeing what they're up to. So let's share a screen and see who we got this week. Also, I use my video editing skills and put this all in one video for you guys.
Whoa, big time.
Yep, big time. All right, so first up, we got Gordon Hayward. This is on his wife's Instagram, and I'll just let you guys watch it for a minute, and I'll tell you what I think.
Yes, they do. All right, push-ups? Yeah. Okay, let's do them. You guys know how to do push-ups? Yeah. Okay, push-ups like this. Oh, get down. Ready? Down. Up. Down. Up.
Good job, Bernie.
Up. With the one-handed push-ups.
I've seen Rocky.
What is that? Mommy?
So there's just so much going on. So first of all, the one-handed push-ups, yes, baby Hayward. And then she's like, who taught you that? And then she says, Mommy. Like, that's who taught him that. Which I definitely think for sure that it's happening. I don't see Gordon doing one-handed push-ups in this piece. And then if you could take a look, this is like his office, gym, playroom. If you see, you got the computer there, you got the treadmill, and there's a playroom. So I'm just like, NBA players are people too, you know?
Well, not a lot of us have that set up.
I guess so. It's either or. I'm just hoping for a treadmill. That's all I'm hoping for. So I really.
He's also role modeling that you start your push-up session by strapping on a weight vest.
Yeah.
How about that?
Exactly. These girls are going to be stacked. Check for them. Check for them in like 18, 20 years. WNBA, here we come.
Our kids have no chance against these kids.
Never.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Next up, I'm trying to think who we got next up. Oh, so Enos Cantor. Oh man, I'm just gonna let this play for itself. really, Enos? Really? I just think it's great, that he has this miniature replica gymnasium in his house. Because at first you're like, oh, it's a regular court until he dunks on it. And right here, just like, got him. Very awesome in that sense.
That's great.
That's like a basketball highlight for Ennis in the pandemic, right? That's like he crossed that kid over.
Oh, that really is. That's a top 10 right there. And I wouldn't doubt if I saw it on someone's on ESPN or Fox Sports.
Sure.
Right after this, because what else they got to talk about, right?
We're talking about it.
Exactly. And then we take it to, so we got the kids and then wife. So here, Paul George has taken up a new profession as a hairdresser for his girl.
Pray for me.
See, she got me caught into.
So that was just a short clip. Paul George, for those of you who don't know, he's taking out a weave. That's what he's doing right there. So hence
She trusts him.
Yeah, that's trust. As someone who has had my husband take out a weave in my hair, like if he chops off all your hair, that's your fault. And if he doesn't, he's marriage material. So hence why we're here. So shout out to YG Trace for doing that. Last one.
Yeah, she got me caught too. We're absolutely killing this puzzle. Great teamwork. Good job, babe. We're killing it.
It's the bonus. Perfect teammate. Helping his wife out with the puzzle.
I like it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what NBA players, fans, and family are doing next week. So I'm gonna check out I'm gonna get off of this now. Check out what they're up to next week. But they're keeping me entertained. That's all that matters.
Are you guys all working out with family members?
Not quite. I really have no excuse as to why I'm not working out. I went.
No, you don't. I agree.
Yeah, I went through this moment at the beginning where I was like, we're only going to be here for a couple weeks. So I was doing the Nike app and I was hard body. And then like it just kept extending and then my existential dread happened. But I'm going to get back. I'm going to get back in it. I swear to God. What about you guys?
Henry, you're doing a class with your family?
So before all this, we would often go, like we are regular. I have a weird broken body where I had to, I was supposed to get back surgery. So I've been going to really hard workouts, like 4 or 5 times a week at this. Now it's certified as CrossFit. When we started going, it wasn't, but that kind of workout. And my family, we're all regulars there. Now it's online, so we do it. But really, honestly, our routines have shifted so much that now it's like my daughter is there pretty much every day at 5:30 p.m. She does the class. And I'm like, I feel a little like Adena does, where I'm like, I'm doing something. I won't go more than 1 day a week without some kind of workout. This morning, I don't know why, it's never happened before. My 13-year-old son was like, I'm going to set my alarm, and will you go for a run with me at 7 a.m.? This is all unusual behavior. And it was 34 degrees at 7 a.m. But I was like, this is what we're doing. Like, heck yeah, I'm not saying no to that. So my actual pandemic workout plan is if anybody invites me to do anything, I'm just going to say yes. And then if they don't, I'll have to figure it out. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, the invite is clutch because what else you got to do, right?
Yeah, you say yes.
As a parent, you're always, if they're asking you to do anything, it's either for money or help me with my essay because I need a better grade. It's rarely that beautiful thing. When it is, you just say yes. You want them to ask, but you always say yes.
But I'm a little bit, you guys know, Prim Surferpat, of course, has been on the show. Wonderful, warm personality. But just this morning, she posted the running up and down the apartment stairs workout that she has done. Mm-hmm. And it's the first time during the whole pandemic, I felt like, whatever, I'm going to try to be healthy. I don't care if I'm winning the Olympics during this time. Sometimes I get a little aggro and train for a race or whatever and really worry about my workouts.
Right.
During this time, I was like, forget it. I'm fine. But seeing Prim, I was like, I feel taunted. Prim got to me. She's doing this, she is training. She is a professional athlete or has been. I definitely this morning was like, okay, Prim got to me. She's the first person to make me feel bad about my
Shout out Prim. I heard that she's gonna do a balcony marathon. I don't know if you've seen this, where this guy ran a marathon on his balcony, and she's ready to do that. And I was like,
oh my God,
go ahead.
That's not kind. It's not kind to yourself, I don't think.
Holy cow!
All right, so we're gonna try a new thing. Oh, there's actually one other thing I wanted to quick talk about here. Adena, you're not a parent.
No.
but I did notice you had a reaction to a parent making a kid fall down.
It was everything, man.
Talk me through that. What are you thinking on that one?
I mean, part of me was, at first I was like, yes, that's mean. I was like, no, you got to teach these kids, And it's actually funnier because they have such a low center of gravity and they fall so hard.
They go down, yeah.
Yeah, that was my thought process, and I do it.
What do you think, David?
Well, as an older man now, having been a dad for 19 years, I'm amazed at the kind of dichotomy between dads anyway, or competitive dads who played sports. There's the kind that feels super competitive with their kid at all times and always want to beat them. And that was never me. I don't think there's a problem with it necessarily. Depends unless you go overboard. I was just the other way. I wanted to get my son to fall in love with the sport, and making them feel bad to me wasn't going to work. He laughed, whatever. It's probably totally fine. But I just wanted my kid to keep asking me to come out the next day. And if I embarrassed him a bunch, that wasn't going to happen. Like if we played baseball, I wasn't trying to strike him out. Our game was home run derby. Let's see how many home runs you can hit. Well, guess what? And then we got Thorpies. So he kept wanting to go back to the baseball diamond. And in basketball, I would play left-handed horse with them because I'm ambidextrous, and he could barely shoot. And I made sure I missed enough to keep it competitive. And if he beat me, I was high-fiving. If I beat him, we always had to shake hands, look each other in the eye, and play again or come back the next day. And he's still playing. So I did something mildly right anyway.
I'm all in, man. I'm trying to wax that kid.
A lot of people are.
I don't want to. I literally, if I thought it was actually the thing the kid's ego and pride was wrapped up in, I wouldn't play that game with them.
Yeah.
Right.
So I crushed him in Rummikub. I killed him in Rummikub and talk shit. Right. But not outside. Yeah.
I want to play like frisbee with the kid who's good at basketball, or I want to like make up some stupid game in the pool with the kid who's good at running or whatever. And like, but once you're there, then it's just like, I want to make it super goofy and I want to destroy them because I know that in a week they're going to destroy me because they get so, and then they'll really love it, right? Like they're going to just love the heck out of it. And as long as the whole time it's super fun, I just feel like
you gotta
that
keep it fun,
situation
for
I saw there, I'm like, oh, I would cross that kid over 30 times in a row if I could.
Yeah.
Like as long as I didn't think the kid was having a bad time.
It's interesting.
It's not,
sorry.
You go.
No, I was gonna say it's interesting, the whole crossover phenomenon and like highlights that you see on the internet now. My husband was coaching 7th graders and he told them to play man to man. And one of them was like, no, we can't do that. And he's like, why? He was like, because they'll cross us over. Like that is the worst thing that could happen to them, is to be a highlight reel for somebody and be crossed over. So like just stick to zone so you're not really in anybody's face and get crossed over. So you got to teach them somehow.
It's a major problem. I won't go into it now because we're going to into a thing, but we're losing lots of kids because they don't want to be embarrassed on social media, and they're just not old enough to be able to deal with the fact that failure is part of the game. Everybody gets dunked on. Everybody gets crossed. We have to coach that up so hard, even at the high school level with 18, 19-year-olds. Like, you can't be afraid to get beat. Otherwise, they won't try. So you have uncontested dunks because no one wants to get dunked on. In the 80s, that wasn't an issue. We try to block their shot. I mean, when I was a coach even. And if they dunked on us, you didn't think about it twice. And now it's a big issue. But we can talk about that's another good topic. It's
why are we talking about Ben Simmons already? That's the later in the show.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So we're going to try a new thing. This is totally unrehearsed and ridiculous and like might embarrass all of us tremendously. But Judy was going to put a clock on somewhere. Actually, I don't see
there
it. Hold on. Do you guys see it?
I see it, yeah.
I got to switch my view. Okay, there. Judy's got the clock on there. So here's the deal. We have 8 topics. We've assigned them. We're going to take turns and just do like a 90-second presentation. Maybe at the end we'll crown a winner or something. I don't know how it's going to work. But okay, let's try this. Here we go. Adena, you're up first. You have 90 seconds.
All right. 90 seconds. We're talking about this MJ documentary. So I'm still getting over my hangover from it. As you can see, I live in the back room of a sneaker closet, and sneaker sales, honestly, I thought they would skyrocket. We did a whole marketing campaign around Jordans on our page, www.another-lane.com. And the Jordans actually didn't fly off the shelf like we thought they were. And talking to my husband, who's also my business partner in this, we think there is a generational gap here. So for example, if you watch watched Jordan play in those 11s, or you actually saw him make the last shot in what we call the last shots, you're running and you want that shoe. Where in fact, this a newer generation, this shoe has been retroed, which means re-released so many times that they're not necessarily so interested in it because they know that it'll probably come out again at a cheaper price. And the fact is that there's so much nostalgia attached to it for an older generation. So that's why we didn't necessarily see them fly off the shelves. But it's still amazing to see Jordan just shoot free throws and change in the locker room in what a lot of us consider our grail sneakers. So I can't wait to see what happens with the rest of the documentaries. And of course, Nike is capitalizing off of this. They dropped a sneaker on the sneakers app immediately when the documentary started. So if you're into sneakers, just keep your sneakers app open every Sunday. I'm not being paid by Nike to say this, but hopefully one day I will be.
David is being paid by Nike for this next thing. Go ahead, David.
I figured.
So that's funny. So I'll wait till Judy. Okay, we all said Judy.
Oh my God, he's losing all his time. Oh my God, David.
I'm good. It's not running, Judy.
It's stuck.
I know. I got you. Ready?
Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Judy.
So I watched part 1 with my son. He couldn't make it to part 2 for the reasons Adena just said. There is a generational gap. My son does like sneakers. He's not a sneakerhead, but I think he felt like I felt in the 80s watching like Babe Ruth and Bill Russell highlights on black and white screens with black and white cameras. The facilities looked so outdated to me. My son's been in locker rooms, not that recently, but recently enough to see, and he's seen these beautiful NBA arenas. It just seemed like my memory of these things are very grandiose. And Jordan, of course, was amazing to me. I studied his game very much. But where they played and the bowels of the arenas then and the locker rooms looked like old locker rooms. I mean, yeah, there's an example. Look how the TV, forget about it, but all the lights and the mirrors, it looks like almost like an AstroTurf carpet. That is not what modern day locker rooms look like now. Now they're trying to get these, many cases, very wealthy athletes to hang out as much as possible in the facilities. And so you've got almost like a 4-star, Four Seasons resort in the locker room. And I would tell you, my son thinks he didn't know Michael Jordan hit the game-winning shot against Georgetown. He doesn't see him as anything close to LeBron James. Now, he only watched part 1. We're going to watch part 2 later again. I've already seen it. But yeah, it was old. I mean, it was just a different time, and it wasn't that long ago.
Time's up.
That was a very gentle sound. That's nice. It didn't make David feel bad.
Pleasant.
That's good. Pleasant. All right, here we go. I'm next. On Tom Ziller, excellent writer with an excellent email newsletter, points out that it's such a great point. With the economy like this, it's not outrageous to think that some NBA governors may be forced to sell their teams because they don't have the money. Again, not just that they might need the money from the sale of the team, but also it's costing a lot of money to pay NBA salaries over the next year or two. He mentioned the Rockets, whose Tillman Fertitta has already laid off 40,000, 60,000 people in his hospitality empire. The Jazz, whose other business is selling cars, which isn't a good business right now. And we know the 76ers were early to try to cut costs. I would maybe add the Heat to the mix. There's an amazing article from Bloomberg about Carnival Cruise Lines. They call it Armageddon of the business world right now. So, and we know that the Lakers, of course, they don't have any other source of revenue besides the team, and there's 6 heirs who take money out of the team, whereas a lot of teams have owners that put money into the team. So I don't know. I don't have insider info here. Then someone on Twitter, a business reporter, John Wall Street, said the Grizzlies belong on that list. I don't know how this is going to play out, but it's very interesting to think that some of us are supporting teams that might change hands pretty soon here. I yield my time. All right, next up is Adena talking about Draymond Green and Kevin Durant.
Yeah, so Draymond Green, the gift that keeps on giving, even in a pandemic, with his off the cuff quotes in color. Regardless of what you think of Kevin Durant's decisions, I mean, we've had multiple decisions going to the Warriors, coming to the Nets. I just think there is a code of ethics that you have as a teammate, especially a teammate that you've won so many championships with, that this is the type of stuff that you keep in the locker room. Draymond calls it an elephant in the room. So it was in that room, let it stay in that room. I don't see what the benefit of airing out your brother in arms and what you think of him to the national media. I honestly think it's messy and not necessary, but it seems to have become part of his brand, messy in this sense. And he's, because it's not the first time he said something like this. And so if that's how he wants to go out and continue, I think he needs to play the long game in this and understand that you're going to be someone else's teammate in a couple of years. And there's going to be another KD on your team, or maybe someone doesn't want you on their team because of how you react. You're not necessarily at the end of your career where you could go rogue and start spouting things off a la, I'm trying to think, was it Andre who also started going off? You're not necessarily there, and I don't see a book deal for you in the future.
I'd read that book. Oh, it's me. Okay. David and I'm on both sides of this thing. Like, should the NBA restart the season? Not a question I think we should answer now because it's stupid. We need scientists to tell us we're safe. Nevertheless, our brains work, and you come with ideas. We've talked a lot about it. I think quarantining like thousands of people in a bubble is never going to work, right? Like, that's as big as this whole town I live in. And you need things like sewer repairs. And like, it just becomes like this bustling metropolis. I don't think we're going to have the whole NBA and support staff and extended families in a Vegas hotel somewhere. I think that's just a pipe dream. However, I'm aware that the TV contract, which pays everyone's bills, the national TV deals, broadcasts a tiny fraction, less than 10% of all of the NBA's games. So to me, to fill in a lot of the revenue, you just need to have a tiny fraction of the games, which means my new idea is some shoddy version of the end of the regular season, just so we can declare who the conference finalists are. And then you have 4 teams isolated with their families, and you just play the conference finals, maybe 2 games a week, maybe 1 game a week, and the finals. Very few people would be involved, and it would probably have epic, historic high TV ratings. I yield my time.
I'll take that time.
David, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir. So I love the idea. Henry and I talked about this last night or yesterday, but I endorse it. If possible, I'd like to have a West and East flavor. So you've got, in a sense, 2 Final Fours to meet up. So you've got the semis and the finals of each conference. And I would love if MSG, and I realize it could be July before we can begin to think to do it in New York, but with what they've gone through, if we could do at least the Eastern Conference Finals there, Western, do a semifinal and conference. The semifinals, I'd want to do best of 5, and then do a best of 7 for each of the conference finals, and maybe out west in Vegas or LA, and then you do the finals. And I don't know if you pick. At that point, I don't think you can go back and forth a whole lot. You probably do have to, what Henry's saying, be in one spot, but maybe not. Maybe not if we wait long enough. Maybe you can go back and forth. But if not, again, to me, New York, what they've gone through, almost unprecedented. Actually, it is unprecedented from a pandemic standpoint, but almost as many people died yesterday as died in 9/11 in New York, right? Whatever we could do for that city, I'm in love with the city. I know you guys love it. Whatever we can do to help, and I think it'd be the great, as Henry said yesterday, amazing TV ratings. And if we can do the testing, I think we can make that happen. Where even maybe families sometimes won't even come in until they get to the finals. Most players aren't talking to their families during the postseason, so bring them in just for the finals.
David's using all of his time.
No surprise.
Another way to love up New York, just get James Dolan to sell the team. Come on. I'm next. Okay. Jared Weiss of The Athletic has an interesting story today. It's been around, this idea that one of the worst draft picks in Celtics history was Joe Forte in the year that Tony Parker was – actually, the NBA representative went over to Tony Parker reportedly and said, "You're going to be picked next by the Celtics." And then that same representative returned and said, "Actually, no, they're taking Joe Forte instead." Joe Forte turned out to be a terrible pick. Who knew that day? But so clear. And Tony Parker wasn't a hit right out of the gate. But the story is that the reason that happened was because of 80-plus-year-old Red Auerbach, who wasn't full-time with the team then, but he apparently weighed in and said that he preferred Joe Forte. And it just struck me that a lot of the NBA's worst decisions come with the wrapper of he's a legend. And I think that's not how decisions work. If we're trying to decide how to drive from here to New York City, what's the fastest route, you want to go with like the Google Maps or the road that looks clear, not what the legend tells you to do, right? The 84-year-old person, no, we always take this freeway. Like, that's not a good way to get the right advice, right? So to me, I just thought it was a hallmark of NBA bad decisions that there was a legend driving it, because everyone involved is designed to just lay down for that person's judgment. Whereas like Red Auerbach's really good at a certain number of things and not everything. No one's good at everything to do every day. I yield my time. And David, you're last to go here. NCAA basketball.
Yeah, so I just was I talked to college coaches and NBA agents as well. And as someone who coached for many years in a pretty rough area of St. Pete back then, when I was not connected with my players who were from, in many cases, very challenging situations, we really lost them to influences that are pretty obvious to anyone that's paying attention. And that's why at 23, I decided I'm not leaving for this summer. When I go away for camps, I'm bringing players with me, and I'm constantly on weekends. I gave up playing pickup basketball on weekends. And I just brought my guys in and worked them out on the weekends so I could stay connected. But none of that's happening. So you've got all these college players who are going home and have been home for a while. And not only is it hard to make sure they stay on top of their academics, which in many cases is fine, but these coaches can't stay in touch with them and be influencers. Other people are doing that. Family members who know nothing about what's best for their child's career or their brothers or their nephews. The transfer portal in the NCAA is, I heard today from a friend, over 800 players have put in to be transferred. I'm all for player empowerment at the college level, but I also want them to be empowered with people who know what they're talking about. In almost every case, parents are absolutely clueless, as are uncles and brothers and family members, and they have no idea what's best for their loved one. And that player doesn't always know what's best. And we're going to see if there even is a season next year. It's going to be wild.
That was cool with the zooming in, Judy. I like that at the end. That was exciting.
It's going to be a wild season next year in college if there even is one. Players all over the place.
Well, now we're not on this clock anymore, but they changed the rules too, right? It's not just because of the pandemic, but they changed the rules about transferring. Is that right?
I think every conference is a little bit different as to whether or not you have to sit out a year, but there's already been an understanding, even in the last few years, where a team can let a player transfer and not make him sit out a year. They just have to sign off on it. It doesn't happen always, but it happens enough where, they just want to bring another guy in. But there are teams losing, Henry, 5-6 players. Like, this doesn't, even before the season's over, that isn't normal. It's a wild time. The high majors are going to do pretty well. High majors are going to do pretty well. It's the mid majors that are losing players who are starters that are going to move up to the high major teams now.
Right.
It's wild.
Adena, I saw you making some facial expressions while he was talking about that.
Oh no, I was definitely agreeing with him. It's going to be a wild season, whether we have it or not. Right now, what I'm thinking about is just, and I think, David has seen it also, that school has to come back first, right? And how long does it take for actual schools to come back? And then we got sports with that also. I have a couple of friends who are in academia and professors, and I think we're actually going to see the true definition of student athlete. I don't want to see any games come back before a classroom opens. I definitely can't see that happen.
Connecticut, Henry, you see yesterday, I think, might have been the Connecticut president, the University of Connecticut president, told some journalists he thinks all fall sports will be canceled. The internet ran with that, and as if he was saying it's canceled. He said, no, we haven't made decisions, but he said, it's my opinion. We're not going to. So just like Rudy Gobert went down, everyone stopped. Watch what happens when the first college says we are not playing next year in the fall. I think you'll see a quick cancellation of football. Connecticut plays football.
Yeah, well, and Eric Garcetti, the mayor of LA, said that he didn't think there'd be stadiums full of people in LA this calendar year.
Yeah.
That shuts it down, right? You can't have that. Pretty much means we're not having college sports, right? I mean, as a signal, things will change between now and then. Who knows? But yeah, that's so. I think we want to talk about Jackie McMullen's Ben Simmons story too, which was on ESPN.com yesterday. I thought it was going to be interesting because Jackie's great, and I know that she got Ben Simmons to say some interesting things, which is not easy to do. But it actually had several little things that ooh. So my quick takeaway was, I'm a huge Ben Simmons fan. I think he's a top 10 NBA player right now because I care about adjusted plus minus. but I now, after reading this story, and we can talk more about why, I think he's like the next LeBron, who's vastly underperforming, rather than he's like a top 10 NBA player and we should celebrate that. It feels more like, oh wow, like he could be so much more. I don't know. What was your take?
Adena, go ahead, Adena.
Oh, I was going to say, the saying that he's the next LeBron, I definitely agree with you on there, and the underperformance. And Jackie got so many good nuggets in there. So I definitely am going to read some more about it, but it was a great piece.
Yeah, he was LeBron in a sense without the fanfare as a senior in high school. Maybe because he's from Australia. He played up the road here in Montverde, about 90 minutes away from me in the southwestern part of Orlando.
Did you ever go see him?
Almost all my friends did. I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't really care at that age, but
yeah.
I knew he was incredible. I broke him down for ESPN actually, and I thought he was a top level projected defender who also could be an MVP level candidate because he was so gifted offensively if he could learn to shoot. I did hear some stories about being lazy. I argued that he was probably just bored out of his mind at LSU, and I'm pretty sure I was right about that. There is your point, Henry, is very good. He's LeBron-esque. It's obviously unfair to compare to LeBron in some ways because he's so far away from reaching his potential. Like that potential is crazy because he's so gifted as a passer. He's incredibly fast. You know, we talk about Giannis, Henry. I've told you this. Giannis looks like the aliens in Space Jam, like built to just dominate basketball. So does kind of Ben Simmons. Mm-hmm. He's a 6'10" or 6'11" point guard who's blazingly fast, incredibly quick hands, incredibly quick feet. This gifted passer who can't shoot. So I worry if it's something
shoot.
Yeah, right. Because he can shoot. He can shoot in pregame. He's making shots. I've seen video.
Yeah.
He won't shoot. There's an issue going on there. If someone can solve it, remember, look at Markelle Fultz. His shot was so jacked up right a year ago, and he was a good mid-range shooter this year, not a three-point shooter yet. And I think Fultz shot really well from the line this year. I can check that, but I think he did, or much better than he had. So there's hope for Ben Simmons. I mean, if there's ever a time to add something to your game, if you have a gym, which I believe he does, or a basket, now's the time. But you can't just shoot. You've got to have game reps in your mind that this is like a game. Imagine playing the Celtics or the Bucks and convince your mind that you're doing it for real. And then if he can start doing that, like it's scary how good he can be. And the Sixers.
So you remember our buddy Yaron Weitzman? You must know him too, Adena.
Yeah. I worked with him at Bleacher.
So he wrote this amazing Sixers book. Honestly, I'm a huge fan of this book, and it has a whole chapter about Markel's shot. And I'm 45 years old. My memory's not so great, but I remember I almost felt like traumatized by his family life at the time that his shot went south. Like it was just, you should really read that chapter. It's super insightful. I totally felt like his mom played a giant role in what happened with the shot. It's complicated, but it felt like a psychological issue, not a basketball issue.
I got two things. Hey, Henry, I just want to say just a little kudos. Like you plug everyone so well in here in their pieces. You're just gonna be like, my boy Yaron got this book, blah, blah, blah. So just like kudos to you on that.
Good plug-in. Yeah.
Thanks. And then Randy had a question in the chat. He asked, should the draft be abolished? I feel like that's a whole episode in itself here. But any thoughts from you guys?
I want to talk about Henry.
Yeah.
So Adena, good eye.
Yeah.
Good ear. But Henry started this when he did his True Hoop Bullets back in like 1991 at ESPN. Before even, no, seriously, Henry was at ESPN. He would link to like AOL Sports, which was CBS, and any other, the Oregonian, whatever was written well. And I remember talking to Henry. We were friends, not great friends, but we would talk some. And I was just like, what are you thinking about that? Because no one else is linking to other people's stuff. And he just said, well, I'm going to recognize what's good. People are going to come to me. Hopefully they'll keep coming back to me because I'll keep looking for other stuff. But I'm not going to not link to other important things. And I don't think ESPN loved that he did it, but I told him he was my Reader's Digest. I stopped surfing basketball. I just read it. Whatever Henry put in those bullets, I knew it was the best of the best. So he's always been doing this.
I feel like we're getting off track here.
It's Henry. Appreciate Henry
Oh,
hour.
that's nice. Thank you.
But yeah,
Yes,
so,
I hate the drafts, and so does Henry.
Yeah.
Get rid of the draft, but you're right. It's an episode in itself.
The whole
Yeah.
point is to reduce the cost of players for owners. It does not effectively make bad teams good.
yeah, and it's also probably, I mean, what other industry in the world gets to be like, hey, you're lucky for us to pick your job for you, right? So we should definitely give them that freedom of choice.
Yeah.
I'm going to plug something else. The Jared Weiss's Athletic article about the Celtics completely screwing up by taking Joe Forte, right? Ends with, but it actually worked out because it made them so bad that in the end they got better picks and then they got good and then they won a championship. It's like, no. What happened there was the people in the big office get to be wrong, and keep their jobs for millennia because the draft just keeps giving them Christmas presents. They always have an argument why they're going to be good again, right? Like, if you didn't have a draft, like the Celtics would have had to have hired Danny Ainge a decade before or whatever, right? You have to actually have someone perform in that office. Or like, in soccer or whatever, you get relegated, you move down, you can really feel the heat. But the draft just keeps the people in charge from ever feeling the heat.
If we're all in tug of war, the team that falls forward losing is the loser. Like, they lost. You're not supposed to. Oh no, we pulled you over the line. You win. That's not supposed to work that way.
Yeah.
And then I just think about the number one player. Your reward for being the best college athlete is, hey, you're going to go to this sucky ass team and you're going to get beat up by whomever's media. And if you don't, get them to the playoffs or the championship, we're going to step all over you. I remember I was talking to a friend of mine, Shamika Holskall, and you can actually read her book too.
I've read her book.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. She talks about like the mental aspect of going from winning everything and being number one in the world to a team that, can't even hold its own in its league. And that's really, really tough.
Well, so David has a whole profession of like, getting more out of the same player, right? So David will tell you in a second that like, it's totally possible that had he gone to the Spurs, Joe Forte would have been a really good player. And that had he gone to the Celtics at that time, Tony Parker would have been terrible, right? So what you're actually saying is like, oh, the people who are in charge of making Shamika Holskall have a great career don't work in Washington. She's not exposed to them. She can't find them. Like, I think we got to have every single professional sports team could have good player development, right? But we don't have that because if you have bad player development, you just get more players. You just get more raw materials to ruin. It's sad. Anyway, Dave, I just stole your point. Sorry.
No. I was going to make a little different point, actually. I talked to an agent recently who really thought he was going to sign this lottery pick talent. And at the last second, because the kid dropped a couple of spots in the mock draft, still lottery, some mock draft, I don't know which one they were looking at, the family freaked out and felt like they had to sign with the biggest agents who have the most juice, as if the agents control the draft, which is beyond absurd. They do sometimes get favors, rarely involving with the draft. Sometimes summer league, they can get some favors done. But and as I said to the agent who called me, the family doesn't realize the kid's so much better off dropping a couple spots because those teams suck that would projected to draft him, and this kid isn't a sure thing. Like Giannis probably could have gone anywhere, probably. Kawhi couldn't have. Kawhi was not a great college player. His team was very good, and if he didn't go to the Spurs, he couldn't shoot. He really couldn't dribble. He only learned to pass a season and a half ago, and he jumped 29 inches in the Chicago pre-draft. He was the worst athlete in Chicago pre-draft. So unless he tanked that, which I doubt, so the Spurs would take him at 15, I think he'd have been okay in a lot of places, maybe in Europe. Like, it's really a fine line. Only a few guys can be great no matter where they go. And so, I mean, look at the Pelicans. Anthony Davis is an otherworldly talent, and they won one playoff series with him. Franchise sucked. Now they have Zion and good management. I think things are looking up very much. But if you're
great time to plug Alvin Gentry on the show tomorrow.
Oh, right. Yeah. Right. Nothing against Alvin, but most people can win with Zion in there. It's like I just was talking to Corey Brewer yesterday, who was drafted by a terrible Minnesota franchise. And he and I we've talked about this a lot. But he has a new baby, so we were talking about his baby. And he was just saying, imagine, Coach, if I had been drafted by a good franchise. Although he did tear his ACL first game of year 2. So maybe it would have screwed him either way to some degree. But it's the number one lesson I've learned, Henry, and all the work I've done is who drafts you initially is an enormous impact on where you go, unless you're like LeBron James or Westbrook or someone where you just are so overwhelmingly talented.
But even to your point about his ACL, like, I mean, to now, like, I had this sort of
Right.
soul-searching conversation with Marcus Elliott of P3, who's like, legitimately worried about how teams mishandle players who are at risk of injury. And, they do these sort of very detailed physical assessments, and they'll note like, oh, because of the physics of how you move, Adena, like, we're worried that you're at excess risk for right ACL strain. So you would do these exercises to bring your knee back in line and strengthen your hips and all this stuff. And it used to seem like snake oil, but it's increasingly becoming like people realize you can be healthier this way. But we basically went through the league, and I got him to like power rank like how likely this team is to prevent an injury. And it gets you very worried. There aren't a lot of teams where he feels like they're well equipped.
You're right.
So like Corey Brewer now, if he went to the right team, might not have torn his ACL. I think I actually believe that.
I completely agree too that that part of management is not seen as much. Although you and I talk about it a lot, we've written about it some and done shows. Yeah, the health of the athlete. It's not just on the court, but it's also the health off the court too. That the better franchises do a better job of. Hopefully, we're catching up. All 30 teams being, make it more of a commodity where it's all amazing. But we are not there now.
Yeah. The one that really sticks. God, I lost the ability to speak. It sticks with me is Klay Thompson, like, or Kevin Durant, both in those playoffs. Like Klay Thompson, middle of the game, has an injury and goes back to the locker room and then returns to play, and then we learn it's a torn ACL. Right? Remember this? He came back into that finals game for a short time. Mm-hmm. Similarly, Durant, the whole playoffs long, the question was like when to return to play. This RTP is a return to play is a giant issue, and nobody really knows. Well, most people don't really know anything about how you answer that, right? What they do is they look at a scan of that joint. So here's Kevin Durant's calf, or here's Klay Thompson's knee. He obviously didn't have time to get scanned in that amount of time. But I believe, based on interviewing experts on this, that what you really should do is watch how they move in standardized assessments all year, right? Yeah. So they're going to jump off a box and land on a force plate and have little cameras measure exactly how their knees flex and everything, right? And then the return to play comes from when they move like a healthy version of themselves. Right? Not from the x-ray of the joint, which isn't like, you can't see what you need to see there, right? You need to know how much Kevin Durant, when he plants his foot, is going to stress his left ankle or his right? I forget. But like they could measure that force with like high school physics. Like, this is what he's going to do to his ankle next time he plants it. That's the number you need to know before you run him out there. Not like, does it look good on the scan, right? Anyway, so I think this is all like you want to be on a team that knows about this and deploys it, not one that, has some celebrity surgeon that they like to use or whatever.
So knowing what you said about that, like it feels eye-opening. Do you think that fans should be a lot less harder on players when they decide not to return? Because a lot of times it seems like players are just sitting out to sit out, or they're pouting when in fact maybe they know that the team doesn't know best.
Yeah, it's the thing we handle worst, right? Is like, I'm an NBA player and I'm delicate. Like, the whole world is like, just shut up, you're rich, just play, right? Like, it's so stupid. Yeah, I'm obsessed. David and I are obsessed with this, like, most of the bad decisions are macho decisions, right? Like, yeah, so I think probably also players need to really articulate it, right? Like, hey, like, remember Luol Deng is like the toughest guy in the world and was out for a long time, and the Bulls had their team doctor like chastise him for being out. And I feel like, wow, so the normal player playbook won't work here. I think at that point, Luol has to hold a press conference and be like, okay, I got this doctor saying this, I got this doctor saying that, here's the scan, here's the advice I got. Like, he's the toughest guy in the world, but he still needs to repair his body sometimes.
Henry, you didn't see part 2 yet, did you? Or even part 1?
I'm like protesting it for the.
You will. You'll see it. So,
you're
gonna love this.
Documentary.
Henry, you're gonna love this though. Phil Jackson. So Scottie Pippen elected to have surgery after the summer, going into that last dance, because he wanted to have a nice summer and not be laid up all summer. And Jordan called him selfish, and all these people had opinions. I mean, Jordan called him selfish now, like in the most recent interview. Phil Jackson was on Pippen's side. Hey, and so Steve Kerr yesterday, I listened to on someone's pod, he said that Phil always did that. There's one thing about Phil Jackson is in these situations, he just sided with the player. And there's a great lesson there as a coach. Players need their coaches back. They're the ones who decide playing time. And it's the opposite of machismo.
Yeah.
When you say, hey, if you don't think you can go, I believe you 1,000%. I know how badly you want to compete. You made the decision. I got you. If we did that, we would see players come back more quickly, more often.
Yeah.
But quicker, more often, because they would take one extra game out and then be back full instead of try to force it early. And then it becomes a nagging injury that keeps coming back over and over again. There's a lesson we learned there. Just have your players back in those situations.
The whole league is in diminished condition, right? Like, football is not true. Like week 16, they run as fast, jump as high, hit as hard as week 1, right? In the NBA, they just get like the fastest month is October, and then they get slower of the top players, well, I meant. And then they take a little break before the playoffs, so they speed up for like the first week of the playoffs. So by the finals, we're watching like they're like the Charlotte Hornets in preseason might beat the June Golden State Warriors, right? Like this is a diminished team. We think of it as the peak, but it's not. And that like measuring peak speed is a pretty good chart. It charts pretty well with injury risk. So like your peak speed goes down when your injury risk goes up, right? So we're just watching like all season. We're watching like not the LeBron who can jump the highest or run the fastest. We're watching a guy who's like there's a reason Andre Miller, who never jumped or ran fast, was the NBA's Iron Man, right? Because they jump and run fast too much, right? Like they're ruining themselves. Like to me, like they should play the number of games, whether they're coming back from injury or not, where they can play at their best, not the number of games that we can like squeeze.
That's why we got to have two. We have to have an East and West Final Four because these guys will be rested.
It's going to be good.
They will be rested. They may not be able to make a shot if they haven't been shooting all this time, but they will be rested.
Ben Simmons bought a hoop. It's in his driveway. He's going to be off. He's all good. Don't worry about it.
Let's go.
I think he also has a dog playing defense on him too, like other players. Henry, real quick, your process in the documentary.
The real reason is because basically my whole family is working in some capacity for TrueHoop, and no one in my family loves basketball except for me. And it just seems like too much to take the remote for 10 hours as well, right? Like we spend all day, like my daughter's running our Instagram handle, my son's editing videos, so he'll edit a video of this, like my wife is an editor, and then it's like, and I'm gonna make you watch 10 hours of old news. Like it's just too much. I have not commandeered the remote that much, but I will, of course. But you know, when I get to it, I'm also a little. Well, I'm not gonna. Let's not go. I have.
It's not must see TV. I don't think it's must see TV for us. I lived it.
Yeah, David.
That's a good point. Like I couldn't wait, and NBA Twitter was a Twitter, if I could say that. I think there was like something like 6 million tweets. Like we were all here. And like you said, you guys lived it. I was probably 10, 13. So it was one of those things where I had to stay up late to watch Bulls games. And I remember looking at the VCR clock and I was like, Mom, I just want to stay up and watch the third quarter kind of thing. And so it was nice to relive those moments because 10, 12 it's an impressionable age, but
the most, yeah.
Yeah, things are still fuzzy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like when I saw players like Bill Wennington, I was like, oh shit. And then, as a journalist, seeing Sam.
Wait. Oh, wait. What's the Bill Wennington point you're making here?
It was just like I loved the tall, bulky guys who shouldn't have. They probably got about 3 more years in their career because they played with Michael Jordan, and they were just my dudes. I think it was also because like I was a bench warmer in high school, and I was like, yeah. Support players. I love you. So it was such a trip down memory lane for me, and it's going to continue to be. And it's also a bonding experience with my father and my mom because they were, they helped nurture my love for basketball at that time. So
yeah,
oh, that's nice.
That part's cool.
So you were in New York, begging your parents to stay up late to watch the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah. I even had like a Bulls jersey. It reminds me, like if you look at people like Cassidy Hubbarth and we all had that Bulls jersey that was like a dress. Because it was so big, but we're gonna wear it all day. I actually have, because I was a geek in school, like I was smart, but I was a geek. I missed Michael Jordan's last game at the Garden because I had an earth science test to study.
Yes.
And to this
That's
day,
a good reason. Yeah.
I regret it to this day. But when I did go to the Garden to see Jordan, I wore my dress jersey, and it was a Jordan jersey. And I literally remember the security guards telling me, okay, you can stay for 5 minutes, and after that, you gotta go. And I mean, I'm all of 10 years old, and I'm just like, what do you mean? kind of thing. But yes, that was me.
How'd you do on the earth sciences test?
I aced it, but am I a scientist? Am I a scientist?
right.
Here I am on TrueHoop. I messed that up.
Maybe you want to get into science later. Maybe that's coming. Maybe that's gonna be a thing for you.
Maybe. Yeah, we'll see. My mom actually told me I got a full ride to a school for science, but I decided to become a journalist, and she had to pay. And she was like, if you ever change your career or major, you owe me. So here we are.
I don't want to blow your mind, but it's possible I could introduce you to Bill Wennington if you want.
Stop!
I thought you were going to say Dana Smith, a science writer.
Yeah. Whoa, Bill, like, he doesn't even know. There was a little black girl in Long Island who was his biggest fan. So let's go.
I think he's like he does radio in Chicago now, right? I'm pretty sure. Anyway,
I don't even know.
Let me work on that for you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have questions we need to answer here? Are we
We
good?
got to get Gerard in.
Well, yeah, we still have religion. Should we do that?
I heard you say that.
Well, we answered the boycotting question, so.
Yeah.
We still have religion. That's hilarious. Dina, what's good?
What's good? I see you got the colorway on. You got your Bulls colorway on.
Listen, you know, I gotta do it. I knew you was gonna be on today. I was like, oh, you know what? Let me rep.
Can we see a little more of that, Gerard?
Oh yeah, you know it's the Nike. You know it's the Nike.
Yeah.
You know how we do.
I see you.
There we go. Nice.
So this Jordan doc, right? It's so interesting. Well, not even Jordan doc. Sorry, I'm getting yelled at from too loud. This Jordan doc or this Bulls doc. It's really what's interesting to me, as you mentioned, Dina, the generation gap, right? All those young kids now who are like, man, talking about this Michael Jordan guy, and they're watching him score 66 against the Celtics in the playoffs, and they're like, that team stinks. Those guys are so athletic. I'm like, guys, there are 4 Hall of Famers on that team.
That is what they're saying, though. That is what they're saying. Oh, those scrawny guys.
Right. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And I feel like because, and this is something for that I think all young kids think. I had Jaren Jackson Jr. on my pod recently, and Jaren's 20, so he's super young, but dad of an NBA player, so he knows the league. So I asked him to do his top 5, and he's like, you want me to do, Michael Jordan and all them guys, or nah? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, look, I know they're great, but I didn't see them. Like, the highlights look dope, and they're all, but like, I don't know them dudes. Like, he's like, I know Kobe, I know LeBron, I know KD, like, I know Dwayne Wade. And I think we're getting to a point eventually when we keep doing these top 5s where we can't, eventually it's no more across eras. We're gonna have to go, okay, 5 best big men, 5 best wings, 5 best guards, because you're going to start moving guys out. Like, right, Bird probably is no longer top 5 for most people, right? It's just the further and further we get away, we're going to forget about these guys. A guy like Kareem, like, what? No one's even thinking about him. And your thoughts on all that.
Go ahead.
We did this all-time NBA rank where we had like 200 people vote, and on ESPN.com, and it's a device to start fights, and it works every time. but Kareem won. Interestingly, I don't know. That probably comments more on the age of the voters, but I do think though, like I asked Shaq this question once years ago, and he had a good answer. He's like, "Oh, my top 5 analog are these 5 players. My top 5 digital are these 5 players," which is kind of what you're saying.
Good one. One.
Yeah, that was sharp. But yeah, I personally think that, like, to Jaren Jackson Jr.'s point of view, like, he can look at those players and he knows that you can't be in today's NBA and like smoke and stay out drinking till 3 a.m, right? Like, you can't keep up with Jaren Jackson Jr. with the habits that you can see that they had, right? Like, these are not top level athletes for today. So maybe if they lived today, they would do the things they had to do to like run with Jaren Jackson Jr., but they didn't, So I don't know. To me, like, and you can see it in every other sport, like, like the mile time has come down considerably since then. Like, there's no reason to believe NBA athletes went in reverse, right? Like I think they're, probably way better today is my guess. Who did Jordan guard who was LeBron size, shape, speed, strength?
Right.
Didn't happen, right? Yeah. But yeah, so to me, I'm all in for today's players are way better. Digital all the way. But that doesn't mean, I was impressionable when Jordan was young. It's hard to believe he wasn't like. It's hard to believe he was human, right? It was like it seemed like every play he was going to be perfect. That's what it felt like to me. It did. Anyway, Adena's ready to kill me. I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And it's funny because I expect like, oh, the younger person's going to be like, yeah, digital and like, you know, today's players are better. I look at it as a whole, like impact on the world, impact on the game, right? Like, are you transforming the game the way people see things? Are you bringing the layman fan into this? And I think it's bigger than what you're doing on the court. And so I'm always probably gonna transform to old school, but then like sprinkle in a digital. And then I just also think, I feel like basketball suffers from this the most, right? I don't see the NFL, you know, people saying, go and be like, oh no, that guy who played with a helmet that only had one strap on it, like he's the best, right? I was like, why doesn't that happen? And then I also think about, we're always ranking our top fives in rap, you know, and you can't ever leave out Dre, you can't leave out Jay-Z.
Nope, can't leave Biggie out.
Yeah, you can't leave Biggie out. And then the minute someone like throws in Amigos, I just shut my computer, right? I was like, we're not doing this today. So yeah, I'm always gonna go for people who transform the game in any genre. And yeah, that's just where I'm at.
But, okay,
What you got, Coach?
This is like a 70,000 hour conversation that I want to have with you now.
Yeah.
But so to me, Jordan was like, you know, his first year in the league, he's wearing a gold chain, and you know, and then the league's basically like, no, that's not gonna work, right? So they just like, okay, we'll just manufacture a fictitious version of a man, and we'll make that really popular. We'll get white America to love a black man in a suit, right? Like, but we'll just, you know, it will be inauthentic, and it was, right? Like they covered up everything that wasn't deemed popular about him. That's why the NBA media is so distant from players now, is because the guy who sold the whole league was a jackass.
Yeah,
like
you got
they had to keep us away, right?
Yeah.
So to me, like, other than the secret footage that we're seeing now, but which now he is edited, so that's a little problematic. But so to me, like, today's stars don't have that. No one today. Maybe they could make an even bigger star out of Steph, LeBron, whoever, right? But they're never going to have that moment again where they can control the message like that. So like, here's the guy where they were like, we can make a dreamed up character and, you know, an imagined character. You'll like that guy. And everyone's like, I love that guy. But like, that's over now. We can't, like, we saw Gordon Hayward in his workout office or whatever that was. Like,
yeah,
I think there's one of these everywhere, you know?
And like, in the documentary, which you'll get to see later on, Henry, they play a lot of hip hop. Like the soundtrack was great. Like LL Cool J, they had NWA in there.
All the 80s rap.
I looked at my husband and I was like, I don't think Michael Jordan listens to this music. Like, I don't really, when I think about
where's LL Baker?
Yeah, and so what did he? Did they not let us see Michael Jordan be a young, cool black man? And yeah, you have a great point. And or maybe he did just listen to Anita Baker, and I didn't really know. So
don't be knocking Anita Baker.
I know. I'm sorry, Nita. I'm sorry. I
didn't say a word when you guys were talking about my sport. But when you're knocking Anita Baker, I'm speaking up. I'm not going to get into the 70,000-minute conversation, which I agree with Henry on.
I'm sorry.
I want to add one quick thing. Steve Kerr said when he was watching it with his family, because he was sent the link to watch it, he didn't want it. And remember, he played, right? You all know, on that team. He wanted to see it with his family. He was disgusted with the basketball. It's just slow and butch. I mean, he didn't go into the physical part of it. I have many times. I made the comment on a podcast the other day. When Picasso was painting, we didn't have a thing where we kept punching him in the face. Like, let the man do his art. Let Mozart do his art. Let Anita Baker sing. Don't shot block her or set a screen and knock her over. That's what that league was. And I was coaching. Jordan is 2 years. Jordan is 2 years and 2 days older than me. So I was in college when he was a junior at Carolina. I built my individual training program on his permanent pivot foot triple threat attack that he did. I didn't like Pete Newell's where you change pivot foot depending on where you are. I followed the best scorer I ever saw. It was Jordan. So I know how bad that game was, and I also know how talented. I had a junior in high school that was 6'1", big-time guard that could 360. It wasn't like there weren't some good athletes. There's way more now because it's a global game. but we ruined the game. The game was garbage with that tiny little court, the way they played and how physical everyone was. Again, we talked about earlier, the machismo kills it for me. They could have played much more beautiful basketball, and maybe if they had done that, some of the butchers that were out there wouldn't have played, and we had more talented guys that had to go to Europe for a lot less money that were just more skilled and had more craft. So I hate that part of it, and I think that's why my son left before even part 2. He loves basketball, but he doesn't want to watch that garbage. So he'll do it because as a favor to his dad. I think he needs to learn the history of the sport better. But don't tell him it's pretty basketball because it's not.
And unfortunately, he's not buying Adena's shoes back there.
He just really is.
Yo, Adena, did you cop those Jordan 6s with the gold metallics on?
No, but I'm sure there'll be another drop that happens every Sunday. So we're good.
All
And there are also a lot
Oh
of
my
people.
goodness, we've used a lot of time, you guys. It's a full hour. We're getting to the part where we have to post the audio in 2 parts. That's all. That's a sign that we've talked a lot.
Bad news.
But it's only because Adena brought up Anita. Made David. Anita Baker did something special to David.
Anita Baker Hive.
Good music. I like R&B.
All right, Gerard, Adena, David, everyone who has questions. Team Longley, I'm seeing Team Wennington. Thank you guys. We'll see you again tomorrow with Alvin Gentry.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, team.
Later.